All right. Time now for This Week in Auto History. Mr. Mars.
I got to find it.
Is there history?
There's a little bit. It's kind of a quiet time in the world of automobiles other than birthdays. So, but I did find out that Jack touched on it recently. December the 26th, 1933. Now, Nissan can trace its roots back to the first Japanese original three investors who named the very first car DAT, D-A-T. Mm-hmm. Now, this was an acronym for their name. Mm-hmm. Each one of them, their first initial. Now, the car hit the market in 1914, but by 1931, the name had changed. The company had changed to DAT Hidosha and Company, close as I could get. By that time, its main automotive product was the DAT Type 11. Now, this was a smaller version of the original DAT.
And this one comes with odd job to throw his hat through the.
Yes, so. And it became known as the Son of DAT. That's just what it got called, Son of DAT, which later became
DAT.
Became DAT's son. That's how you get to the DAT son.
Who DAT?
And then
I thought it was Daihatsu.
No.
Daihatsu is another company.
Yeah, so through other acquisition and mergers, then in 1933 is when the name was actually changed to Nissan. So that's how it got to their name.
Wow.
Now, December the 31st, 1959, the first generation of the Corvair was introduced as a 1960 model, offered as a sedan and a coupe. The car was really well received. Sales were strong the first year in the market. There was a station wagon, a convertible body styles were added to the lineup, as well as the ramp side and the load side pickup truck.
You see that she parked it and walked away from it.
Well, that's a 65. That's version 2.
Yeah, the Greenbrier and then the Corvair vans were also added.
There's the original.
In 1962, the Corvair Monza Spider debuted as a turbocharged version of the flat 6 engine. Mm-hmm. That's their little hot rod. In 65, the second generation Corvair was introduced with sleeker styling, upgraded rear suspension. Despite all this, the debut of the Ford Mustang, as well as concerns about the safety of the first generation swing axle suspension raised by Ralph Nader in his book, led to a decline in sales until Chevrolet finally focused on their Mustang fighter, the Camaro, and the Corvair was discontinued in 1969.
You do realize that the Yanko Chevrolet company, they actually had a version of the Corvair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
Yanko Corvair. Mm-hmm.
They made some hot rods out of everything. Then, January the 1st, 1904, the origin of license plates could be traced back to the late 19th century in France in 1893. Automobiles were a novel invention. License plates were a practical way to identify the owners. And although New York was the first state here to require automobiles to have license plates in 1901, these plates were made by the owners. They used their own initials, and instead of them being issued by the state agencies. The very first license plates were handcrafted on leather or metal, and they just meant to identify and you used the owner's initials to help do that instead of a numbering system. But it was 2 years later, in 1903, the first state-issued license plates were distributed in Massachusetts.
Distributed.
Yeah.
That's over there. That's a Neaterville way.
Well, that's the way we get them.
Theoretically, it is.
Theoretically, yes.
The very first plate featuring just the number 1 was issued to Frederick Tudor, who was working with the Highway Commission, and one of his relatives still holds an active registration for that number 1 plate to this day.